Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Allah is kind. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Mawlana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. We start with our intention. I intend to learn and to teach, to benefit and to be benefited, to remind and to be reminded, to call to the book of Allah and the sunnah of his messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to guide and to be guided by soundproof and correct knowledge, to seek the countenance of my Lord, nearness to him and his reward. Ameen. Ameen. We're also here by the intention to expose ourselves to the mercy of Allah, to expose ourselves to his kindness, to his maghfirah. We're here by the intention that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would grant us ma'arifah, that he would make us people of knowledge and wisdom and understanding, that he would expand our hearts, that he would grant us a unity of the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. We're here by the intention that Allah ta'ala would rectify all of our internal and external affairs, that Allah ta'ala would build our relationships upon goodness and khair. We're here by the intention that Allah ta'ala would make us amongst those who were seeking him by seeking knowledge and understanding. And that Allah Ta'ala would allow us and our entire lineage to be amongst those that he grants Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la. Allahumma ameen. So I want to start off with kind of like, this is muraqaba, part 1.5. Inshallah, we will have muraqaba like 2, by next week, inshallah. But I wanted to go back over the concept of muraqaba from the beginning. And this is a state of mindfulness. That muraqaba or self-watching is the process by which you begin to turn your eye inward. They call insight, right? Where you begin to turn your gaze toward your internal condition, as opposed to turning your gaze toward an outward condition. When your gaze is on an outward condition, you are constantly being manipulated. You are being manipulated, for example, by other people's thoughts, by other people's emotions, by other people's reactions, by other people's narrative. And without even realizing it, without muraqaba, without that insight, then you can literally become like marionette. You can become a puppet, that someone can just play your strings and you will move according to their emotions or their thoughts or their consciousness or their Allahumma salli wa sallam, but upon their narrative. Allahumma salli wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad. And so by turning the gaze inward to have insight, what I begin then is to watch myself, right? To be mindful first of my thoughts, mindful of then my emotions, mindful of my reactions to things. And that mindfulness happens on a multitude of levels. So the first mindfulness is, of course, just a most external one. When someone says something to me, what are the physical responses that I have? What are, do I feel my chest get tight? Do I notice that my breath becomes shorter or more shallow? Do I notice how I might move a certain way or hold my body a certain way? And when I hold my body a certain way or hold my face a certain way, how does that make me feel internally? Which then takes us, of course, to the next, we peel that onion of the most basic physical level, right? Am I clenching my fists? Am I crossing my ankles? How do I sit? Am I comfortable? Am I grounded? How am I positioning physically? And then from there, I take a look inward into how is that affecting me emotionally? And so emotionally, is still to some degree, it's just the peel of the physical layer. Am I angry? Am I agitated? Does this conversation, or does this being in this person's presence make me sad? Does this do I feel annoyed? Do I feel joyful? Do I feel a sense of affinity? Do I feel a sense of fear? Am I feeling anxiety? Am I feeling grief? To begin to really really narrow in on my emotions and where they're taking shape in my body, right? Because this is the beginning of something that I want to, inshallah, get to tonight. Once I then peel the layer of my emotions, the next one will be my thoughts. My first internal thoughts are, what does my body and my emotions, how are they informing my thinking? How are they translating this information that I'm experiencing? How are they translating that? Does it translate into, you know what, this is not safe? This person is not safe. This situation is not safe. Does it translate into, I must respond a certain way? Does it translate into, I must lean in? I must pay more attention. I must become connected, or I must become disconnected. What are my thoughts that are being, and how are those thoughts particularly being informed through my body and through my emotions? As we know, there are 40,000 neurons, right, between the heart and the brain. And so the heart, emotions inform the brain, right, of what it's going to think about a certain thing. If you feel intense, if something scares you and you feel startled, your first reaction is your muscles will tense up, your body will tense up, right? You will start to feel a sense of fear, and then your thoughts will tell you this is not safe. Yes? And then the next layer is, how does all of this begin to inform my spiritual state? After my body reacts, my emotions respond, my brain tells me what to think based upon all of that. What does it inform me about my soul? What are my intentions in this moment? Why am I here? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And for whom am I doing it? What is the end game? What's the goal? What's the objective? And the goal and the objective are not the same. My goal in this moment is to communicate bi'idhnillah this particular class, to articulate in this moment the role of muraqaba, the role of self-watching in mindfulness, especially as it relates to building sisterhood and brotherhood, building community. That's my goal. My objective, bi'idhnillah, is to strengthen the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, so that we may all become closer to Allah and that He would allow us into His Jannah. Right? One is, I have something for this moment, but for the Muslim, it is connected to a longer moment. That my mindfulness and even my moment cannot be simple. For example, we're going on a trip, we're going on a journey. Part of that journey first is I need to pack my bags. That's a goal, right? I'm going on a trip, I gotta pack my bags. When I check off that becomes like a pearl, right? To put the pearl on the string is not the goal. The goal is the necklace. So I get in the trip, I get to the car. It's like, whoo, okay, we got in the car. But it is not the goal. It is not the destination. I'm sorry, it is to get to the car is the goal, but it is not the objective. It's not where I'm going, where am I headed? And so that's what the soul needs to tell us. Oh, soul, أين تذهبون? Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are your footsteps leading you? And so in our time, and I'm talking about our time, not just tonight, but in the time that we're living in, it becomes extremely imperative that we keep the objective in mind. And the only way to keep the objective in very clear view, right? The only way to keep the objective in very clear view is to keep a close eye on the soul. On the soul. And how it is allowing the circumstances, the situation, the time, the heat, the environment, the condition, how is that affecting us physically, emotionally, and of course, spiritually? And to constantly keep our intentions in check. That we know we're always familiar with the Prophet ﷺ says, "Kuli a'malu biniyat," and that every action is by its intention. But what we know about this particular hadith is that the hadith is not based upon the intention. Even though we many times call it the hadith of intention, the hadith is actually about hijrah. The hadith is actually about migration, and particularly about migration toward Allah. I want to pull it up. It is the first intention of course, in Imam Nawawi, in the Arba'in, it is the first of it. Hold on, I want to pull it up for you, inshallah. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammad. See if I can I share my screen with you? Yay, I can. So when we look at this particular narration, right, when it says on the authority of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Abu Hafsa Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhum, where the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam says, "Inna a'malu buniyat wa innama likum min amrin ma nawa, faman kanat hijratuhu illa Allah wa rasulihi fahijratuhu illa Allah wa rasulihi, wa man kanat hijratuhu lidunya yusibuha wa amrin yankihuha fahijra ila ma hajara ilayh." That actions are by its intention, and everyone will get what was intended. Whoever migrates with an intention for Allah and His Messenger, the migration will be for Allah and His Messenger. But whoever migrates for a worldly gain or to marry a woman, then his migration will be for the sake of whoever he migrated for, related by Bukhari and Muslim. And so as we look upon this particular hadith, many times we will stop at my action, we will stop at my intention. My intention is to do this. And we will even tell ourselves that I will be like, really, it's all about my intention, right? That everything I do is about my intention. But in reality, the attention, of course, also has to have an attention, right? How you're carrying that out, but the intention for what is the long-term objective, right? Because if we stop at Kuli a'malu biniyat, every action is by its intention, we miss the richness of what comes after that. And man hijratu illa Allahi wa rasulih. That whoever migration, right, the intention is for Allah and His Messenger. So understanding that intention is about the movement, right? The movement of the mindset from one set to another. First and foremost, the movement of the soul from one place to another. So the mind can then move to one place to another. So then the emotions will move from one place to another. So then the body will begin to act different on a higher level. Right? This is muraqaba. And I want us to understand, because the challenge that I face, not you, the challenge I face is that many times when we look at these kinds of texts, these kinds of concepts Islamically, they begin to sound like some kind of ethereal, hocus pocus, spiritual, new ageism kind of thing, right? As something very concrete in our relationship with Allah, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship to the people who are around us, our relatives, our relationship to our community, our relationship to our environment. That muraqaba is the foundational relationship of everything we're part of. Everything we're connected to has to have some form of muraqaba. If there is no insight, there is no sight, right? There's no sight. If on the most basic level, if you don't allow, if you go into a situation that is very dangerous, let's say you're walking down the street and it's dark, and there are all kinds of shady characters lurking in an alley, and bullets are flying. If your body doesn't respond, I'm like, okay. If your emotions don't tell you, I don't know about this. I'm not quite sure I should walk down here. Right? If your brain then doesn't tell you this is not safe, let's go somewhere else. If your logic will not guide you, right? Then let your soul at least say, look, my life is worth something. I'm about to take another path. That self-watching becomes necessary on a very tangible level, even for your most basic safety. Most basic safety. And so what we recognize is no one's trying to live in this life just on basic safety. No one is living their life as an animal just on animalistic behaviors, on just fear, sleep, food, just on these basic instincts of animalistic qualities. No one wants to live our life on that level. We're all seeking a level of peace, a level of harmony, right? A life of meaningfulness. And so if we're seeking a life of true meaningfulness that's going to last, right, on a long-term basis, that's going to carry us through the rocky roads, the misunderstandings, the hurt, the pain, the darkness ahead, we've got to have a deep sense of muraqaba, a deep sense of self-watching. Otherwise, we're not going to get to the objective. We're only going to accomplish the goal. We got in the car. We made it to the car, right? Do we go on family vacations for Disney World? No, you went on family vacations in order to bond the family, right? To have an experience, to have a shared experience. You went on the family vacation to build love and camaraderie, right? And fond memories, to build affinity for each other. That was the goal. That was the goal. If it was Disney, when the relationship hits the long-term road, there'll be no calling, there'll be no get-togethers, there'll be no constant, consistent relationship, and you'll say, what happened when everybody grows up? And the family will say, what happened to the family? Right? Because the goal was Disney. So, hey, mom and dad, yeah, I took the kids to Disney. Right? There's no bonding. There's no love. No true care or concern. And so looking at that as it relates to our current state is that it becomes necessary that we turn our insight on. And at this time where the outer noise is so loud, it becomes imperative to know how to quiet not only the mind, but to quiet the soul. To almost cocoon the soul so that it can emerge a butterfly. to cocoon the soul, to protect it away from the elements. And one on the outside may think that there's no movement happening on the inside. Someone would look at a cocoon and say that looks like nothing. It doesn't look like movement. But in reality, there's so much beauty and life, new life, growth that is happening and on the brink of emergence. But that only, and I'm telling you, this cocoon can happen in a storm, right? It happens in the heat of the summer. It happens at like really interesting times. There could be a tornado that's going around. But if that cocoon is tight, the soul will still emerge beautifully. In the moment, the society, the world, there are a multitude of storms. People are wrestling with, where should I go? What should I think? Who should I follow? What should be my slogan? Who should I join with? Who should be my comrades? Who should, and the list goes on and on about the level of confusion. And so at this time, we are called to a stillness, to an internal insight that calls us to really evaluate not just our relationship with other people, but before we can evaluate the relationships with other people, we first need to evaluate ourselves in relation to other people, right? That it's very easy to say this person is toxic. It's very easy to say this community is toxic. This community is not offering me anything. This community is unwelcoming. It's very easy. And it's a lot more hard. It's harder work to turn that internal and turn up the volume of internal insight and say, what are my reactions? What are my responses? What thoughts run through my mind? When I'm with a certain group in a certain community, does it take me back to a childhood moment where I felt bullied or I felt left out? Or, for a long time, for example, I was convinced I could not eat tomatoes. Right? Sounds odd. I was deeply convinced I could not eat tomatoes. I didn't like tomatoes. I couldn't eat spaghetti. And even if spaghetti had like chunks of tomatoes in it, I was like, oh, I can't eat it. I think I'm allergic even. Like I can't eat it. One day, I literally set myself down and was like, okay, when was the last time you ate it? What moment did you decide that you could not eat a tomato? And it reminded me of second grade in the cafeteria. A boy named Steven got sick in the cafeteria and he vomited his spaghetti in front of everyone. And I was just so disgusted and horrified that well into my 20s, early 30s, I was like, I can't eat tomatoes. They're gross. Everything about them is gross. When in reality, the tomatoes weren't gross. It was Stephen vomiting them, right? The school cafeteria. But I have to sit with myself and evaluate my reaction to a thing. So, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barik Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I just want us to start thinking about how when we began, and is the goal in muraqaba, is the goal insight, right? Is the objective, is the objective insight? Is the long-term objective, is it insight? No, The long-term objective is self-mastery. So that once I recognize my triggers, my own hurt, the thoughts, the memories that are connected to that, and how in many cases it has informed my faith. Meaning that oftentimes relationships that were meaningful to us, relationships with people that we loved or counted on, or were in close proximity, when they disappointed us, right? Maybe they were Muslim, maybe they were a parent, maybe they were an imam, maybe they were a Quran teacher, maybe they were someone connected to religion in our mind, someone connected. So as a result of whatever happened to harm that relationship, our physical response to it, then our emotional response to it, our mind then telling us this is not good, right? Or this is not safe, or these people are like this, or these people, anyone who has this look or this description is like that. I then say, right, for example, if this was a Quran teacher, a Quran teacher, or whoever created this negative emotion, then I say the building with those people who look like that is not safe. It's going to, I don't like it. I reject that. It can lead, for example, in many cases, someone gets into a bad marriage, that they had the marriage for Allah's sake. They wanted to be married thinking, I'm getting married, for Allah's sake. This is a good person. This is a good Muslim. They get married. The marriage doesn't work for a multitude of reasons, usually because of all the stuff we bring to it and not practicing muraqaba, right? So then we bring all of our stuff to it. The marriage falls apart. Sometimes people lose their faith. They blame it on Allah. They're angry with Allah. They're disappointed with Allah. They will disconnect from Allah. It has affected and infected their soul based upon something external. And so when the gaze becomes so external, right? The outside, you will neglect the inside. And that is the goal. How can I disconnect you from your Lord? How can I cut you off? How can I make you believe this is no longer effective? This is not beneficial. Some people will tell themselves, I prayed and something still bad happened to me. And so the mind, because I'm hurt emotionally, something bad happened, I'm hurt emotionally, I tell myself prayer doesn't work. Right? Now telling my soul, what does it mean if I say prayer doesn't work? Disconnect from Allah. I'm angry with Allah. I prayed, He didn't give me. So painful. And what we then evaluate about the soul is that we have estimated Allah upon the actions of people. We have put Allah at the action and the level. This person did it, Allah did it. So it becomes, in order to begin to say, where has my soul become severed? Where is my soul disconnected? Where is there a breach between my ruh, my spirit that is connected to Allah by its nature, and my heart. Right? Where is there a splinter in my soul? And when I can take that journey back inward, and identify the splinter where I didn't get the love out here on the external of the circle, where I didn't get the love, the support, the whatever, where this happened, trace it back, right? To the splinter in the soul. When I can then call on Allah, Anta al-Wadud, you are the most loving. You are the most loving. That when my heart was broken and I was left alone, you were there with me, putting me back together, right? Allowing me to continue to live on to see the brightness of another day. I was depending on you, Ya Rabbi, to carry me through, even when I was mad at you, Ya Allah. I was still depending on you. And that begins the healing of the soul. When you can communicate with Allah from an authentic place, where now the external begins to fade away. And once I can heal the splinter in the soul, then I can work from the most deepest insight. Now I can begin to gain mastery over my thinking. I can say, right, when I'm walking in a dark room, I can say, it's just the lights are on. You don't have to be scared. Turn on the lights. There's nothing to be afraid of. Just turn on the lights. I don't need to make my mind take over and cause me to be afraid, to feel anxiety just because the lights are out. When lights are out in your life, when there's darkness, when there are dark moments, when there are dark times in the society, right? I don't need to tell myself I am alone. There are other people, there might be a whole bunch of other people in the dark. I don't need my mind to run amok. Once I can heal the splinter in my soul, that I'm deeply fearful, Ya Rabbi, of being alone. I'm deeply fearful, Ya Rabbi, that, I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm not good enough, whatever it is. When I can heal the splinter in the soul, then I can change, I can gain mastery even over my thoughts, putting my emotions in check. Now I'm comfortable. I'm just as comfortable in the dark as I am in the light. I'm not moved. I don't experience anxiety over that. I know I'm going to walk down the hall. I'm going to find the light switch, right? In the darkness, bi-idhnillah, Allah will send the light. Allah will send the sun. But I have to be willing to reach deeper. And it takes time. It's not like you're going to watch one emotion and come up with it. It's not like that. Imam Ghazali, in The Alchemy of Happiness, he describes this one particular scenario as it relates to what he calls the physicist, the realist, the physicist, and another one. It'll come to me inshallah. But long story short, the story is, there's an ant that walks across a page. And as the ant is walking across the page, it sees Allah being written. One set of people attributes the writing to the pen, right? Another set attributes it to the hand, can see the hands moving. They have a higher insight. They attribute it to the hand that's moving. Another says, no, it's not the hand, it's the arm that's making it move. But who has the ability to trace it back and say, no, it's the unseen mind that's then sending a trackable, tangible message through the nerves to the arm, to the hand, to the fingers to make the pen move. Our job is to track it back to the mind. Where in my soul? Then the soul, from the mind actually to the soul. The soul had an idea, the soul had a desire, right, to write Allah on the page. So the soul had an idea to write Allah in the page. The mind formed the image, right? And then sent the message, this is how we're going to do it. If we understood how that manifests events in our life, if we understood how good and bad, right? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in one of like the most powerful ahadith that if we studied it alone, it would take us the rest of our life to fully discover its meaning. Where it starts off with Allah saying, I wage war on anyone who harms or is an enemy to my beloved. My servant draws nearer to me with that which I have made obligatory upon him. He continues to draw nearer to me. What does it mean to draw near to Allah? It means the source of all wisdom. It means the most compassionate, the most forgiving. I'm talking about radical forgiveness. Radical love. The source of all compassion, the source of light, justice, kindness, all at the same time. I'm talking about ultimate all power. That's what it means to draw near to Allah. And Allah says, my servant draws near to me with that which I have made obligatory. That prayer is not some ritualistic action. It is a means by which you connect to the power source, the source of understanding, Allahu al-Alam, the source of knowledge and wisdom. So where you tap in to every healing. He draws near to me with that which I've made obligatory. He continues to draw near to me with that which is voluntary. He continues to draw near to me until I love him. And when I love this servant, he and she, when I love them, I become the eyes in which they see, the ears in which they hear, the mouth in which they speak, the hands in which they take action, and the feet in which they travel. This is a servant who's recognized internally the meaning of my soul and its effect all the way to my external actions. When we are able to have that level of self-mastery, our relationships will change. Our reaction to people and their circumstances will change. Our reaction. When we're able to recognize not like, Allah, I've been praying for a month, right? You should have sent me the whole, you should have given me the universe in my plate. Right? I've been praying for 30 days, y'all. I fasted, I prayed for 30 days. Y'all don't think you should have given me. Allah. I had heartburn longer than that. Allah was done. Allah was done. Allah. Right? Alhamdulillah. It takes a woman 9 months, 10 actually, to develop, a child and bring that child forth into the world. 9 months. But how many generations did it take to bring forth that child from the loins to transfer that one? Prophets reach prophecy at the age of 40. Took them 40 years. Except one Allah gave. Not even because of his mother Maryam. Right? Allah gave Isa revelation as a baby, but not because of Isa. We may say because of his mother Maryam. No, because of the prayer of his grandmother. He said, Ya Allah, I dedicate that which is in my womb. Sometimes it takes time. Also because we are developing. And Allah knows best. So I say this to us tonight, that as it relates to the reality of muraqaba and self-watching is the necessary component to heal the splinter in our soul, in order to heal the rift in our mind. Sometimes we are of two minds, sometimes three minds. My heart and my mind don't match. To heal the rift, but more importantly, to have mastery over your own thoughts. And to then have mastery over your emotions. It doesn't mean you don't have them. It means you become the master of them. And then from there, when you recognize a twitch of the eye, so Allah says, I even know the treachery of the eye. You recognize the twitch of the eye. You say, oh. You can quickly, you start to feel, you can soften your face, right? Telling your heart, oh, I don't need to respond, right? You can relax. Telling the muscles in your body, you can relax. No need for us to pull our defenses up. We're not in war, even if they are, right? I can change my conceptual frameworks that I'm thinking. And what am I doing? I'm in the presence of Allah. Recognizing, Allah, he tried to get me. Shaitan tried to come after me. Hasbiyallah wa ni'mal wakil. Right? And then we get good and we see him coming from a mile. At this time, it becomes necessary in order for us to build relationships with our brothers and sisters. That in order for us to build relationship with our brothers and sisters, inshallah, we will talk about it more next week, bi'idhnillah. We first have to have the internal part figured out. What is the self? Where is the self? Where is our soul in this relationship? Because it's easy for the eye to see outward, but the Muslim is called to turn the eye inward. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت